All right, everyone, welcome back to Discourse Debrief. This is Semester 4, Episode 6, 7. I'm Logan.
I'm Abby.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we're going to be talking about political philosophy, but we'll get into that shortly. Abby, you want to talk about a couple things first?
Yeah, so the Regents Cup is coming up on March 28th. We don't have exact time or specific room location details, but we think it's going to be in the Eller building.
We know it's going to be in the
We
Eller
know
building.
it's going to be in the Eller building. But stay tuned on the UA Discourse Series Instagram for more specific details closer to the event. And Maggie and Logan are going to be debating, so come watch. Yes. I'll be there too, watching.
Yeah.
And we have officially decided to make Maggie a co-host of our podcast.
Yay.
So, yeah, we're very happy to have Maggie on here permanently.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So how this is going to work, I have a list of political philosophers with a just sort of summary of their beliefs.
Well, do you want to tell them what we're doing?
I said we're talking about political philosophy. It's very similar to the gauntlet we did with Peyton, only political. So anyways, I have a list of the names and their summary of their beliefs. I'm going to do my best to summarize them because I know of most, if not all of them. And then we'll just take it. Yeah, I know. Subtle flex.
Okay, Devo.
And then we'll just take some time to discuss. I have a bunch, so if we don't spend much time on one, that's fine. We have a bunch of other ones. And then obviously you guys can interject as much or as little as you want. But otherwise, we'll just get right into it.
Wonderful.
I guess
get right into it.
As a start, what is your guys' foundation of knowledge when it comes to political philosophy?
I'd say that's somewhat new when it comes to political philosophy. I've taken time, I've taken various philosophy classes that are not political based, but it's typically the same characters that are popping up. So
Sure.
It's easy to translate it to politics because I focus primarily on feminist philosophy.
Fair enough.
Me as well.
I don't think I have a single woman on here.
Oh,
so maybe
typical man.
Maybe you can fill the gaps. Well, hey, history is unfortunately written by men, so you know what? You guys be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
McKinnon.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with Maggie. I think a lot of my philosophy or political philosophy is based around like feminism, but that's just because I'm a woman in today's society.
You are?
Yeah. Last time I checked.
Okay.
But other than that, I don't really have like a political philosophy basis. I have taken philosophy courses. I know the people, Hume, Kant, apparently Thomas Aquinas. But yeah, I haven't really like researched political philosophy, but I'm sure I do know some of it. Like if you were to say something, I might know.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like a lot of it stems from especially recently, like I listened to these kind of 10-minute crash courses while I'm walking to class. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Most of it's like related to prepping for regents and trying to find philosophical grounding in our arguments. So that's most of my background, but some of it I already knew just from other classes, history classes in particular. Ironically, we don't really talk about it a lot in my poli-sci classes.
Huh.
I don't know if that's similar to you.
That's the same with me.
Yeah.
I've only really like some random undergrad classes that I just have to take. That's usually where it's coming from.
Yeah.
It's like these random classes.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to just get started. I'm going to almost purely go in chronological order except for the last two because I want to save the best for last.
Nice pen, Logan.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. He's the Logan. So we're going to start off with Plato. So Plato was a Greek philosopher, probably one of the first capital P philosopher. And he argued that in a just society, essentially people do what they're best equipped to do. So you wouldn't want a doctor flying a plane in the same way that you wouldn't want a pilot treating your wounds. So he took that and he expanded that to who should control the government. And he asked who is best equipped to control the government. And he said it was philosophers. So the system that he kind of devised is having a system of philosopher kings. So basically attend this institution to become trained on how to rule the government, and then you're selected on a meritocratic basis. And kind of the takeaway there is he did not like democracy. He thought that stupid people would be elected, and well, yeah.
I just think it's kind of funny that he, as a philosopher, was like, you know what, actually, we're the people that should be in charge.
Yep.
No, yeah. You could take bits and pieces and make it make sense. Like if you're like, oh, the people who are most educated, like should, or the people, like there should be some level of credentials, but that's not, I don't think that's really what he was.
It's possible. I don't recall if he included women in that.
No.
Probably not.
No, because that I think like trickled into like the whole like homemakers kind of
Oh,
what
yes.
you're most equipped to, and
Oh yeah, sure.
the
Yeah, but no, like I agree with what you guys are saying. Like it's kind of like self-serving, but at the same time, like I don't know if he regarded himself as a philosopher. Like I don't know how that translation works, because like especially back in the day, I assume philosophy just had the meaning like love of knowledge, just on the etymology level, just like that's the meaning of the word. Probably doesn't have the same weight that we hold it to be today. But
Etymological?
how do you say it? An
anemone.
Anyways, so yeah, any other thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean,
How do you guys think that system would look today if we had this like dedicated institution to train future world leaders of government?
I don't think it would be a completely negative thing, but I do think it does seem a little bit like dystopian.
well, I mean, I feel like we kind of have it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like we're poli-sci majors, so like we are being trained to somehow like take over. So I don't think it's necessarily like a completely ridiculous idea, but I also do believe in the whole like, I don't necessarily think that the people who want it the most are the people who are the most equipped to have those positions.
Yeah, it's very much contradictory, because like the people who want it most are the people who are actually running, you know. But yeah, I do agree we kind of already have a system in place. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but a fair amount of U.S. presidents are Ivy League educated, certainly more than the average number of citizens are. And the same goes for Congress. Like most members of Congress are, one, either veterans, or two, have some kind of law degree. So
Okay.
I think maybe not, it's not written into law, but we already sort of have a system in place of we elect the people that are quote unquote best equipped.
Yeah, it's more like a social
Yeah.
rule.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on then. Plato is actually the only ancient philosopher that I have on here. Everything else is like Enlightenment and onwards.
Oh.
Maybe not Enlightenment.
Whoa.
So next, Niccolo Machiavelli. He was the first quote-unquote political realist. He was Florence, I believe. He was in Florence, Italy during like the Medici family, and he was tortured, and then that inspired him to write a book on, it was originally on principalities, but it's translated to The Prince. So yeah, he believed that politics should be analyzed realistically rather than morally. So how efficient you are as a leader, it doesn't matter if you're immoral, as long as you're like successful and like producing any results, like, you know, that's a good leader. And he said that leaders must prioritize stability and power, even if that's through immoral means.
Oh, this brings me back to like what makes a good leader episode that we did. My first ever episode on the podcast. I was just a little guest back then. Wow, I find a lot wrong with that.
I just think it's a little bit contradictory. I don't really think that like, I think that it's almost impossible to make the best decisions for people without having some form of morality.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the choices you make are impacting everybody. So if you don't have some kind of moral standing, then
And I don't think that people would ever want to elect somebody that has no morals.
Well,
I kind of like apply this to.
apparently they do.
I apply this to concepts like vote blue no matter who, or vote red no matter who. Like,
Yeah.
from a moral level, like I probably disagree with that, but from like a purely political like realism, like that's the way that things kind of are, then like, well, I mean,
I think
it's how the system is set up.
The main part that I take issue with is the like prioritizing having power and the stability through immoral means. I just feel like,
well, maybe through immoral means if necessary, not
well,
like
if
exclusively.
necessary, I think that's
Yeah, obviously, like
not
he would
okay.
say the best version is through moral means, but when that's not possible and your only other way is through immoral means, you're like, yeah, that's the sign of a good leader that can hold on to power
I don't
no
know,
matter the
guys.
circumstances.
I feel like this is how wars start.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
I
many
think that
wars
right.
started.
I feel like maybe current events are a good example
Yeah.
of whether you think it's the right thing to be doing or not. It's still immoral. So it's
I agree. We can look to the current administration. We can say a bunch of immoral things are being done, but regardless of that, he is still in power, which
Yeah.
is at least a sign that what he's doing is working to some extent.
Well, yeah, and the concept of morality is really interesting too because it's very subjective. Like, I mean, we do have like a set of like societal what?
I know people who disagree with you.
Okay. Well, we do have a set of like societal values, at least. I was gonna say in America, but I'm not entirely sure. But like we do, like it's called our law, right? But people may still disagree with it. Like individual people may still disagree with it, but they still have to follow them. So I don't know. I just feel like maybe in different places in the world. And here too, it might be a little bit in the weeds.
Yeah. And it really just does strike the question of like what is the purpose of a leader? To
Yeah,
do, you know,
what
Is it
makes a good leader? Go watch our episode.
Like if you think that a good leader is somebody who can just establish dominance and like just have a whole bunch of power and know what to do, and not even know what to do with it, just have it and keep it, then I guess that makes perfect sense that you would be okay with.
Well, that's also how like empires start too, and continue on for years.
I will say there are some scholarly theories that Machiavelli wrote The Prince as a way to appease to the Italian leadership. He wanted to buy it, and he was gonna kind of suck up to them in a way.
Trying to get back from his exile.
Exactly. Yeah, because he was exiled. It's because he failed up on the militia.
Oh.
All right. So moving on, unless you guys anything else.
No.
Okay.
Italy.
Italia. Thomas Hobbes. So Hobbes had the kind of the natural world view. He said that humans are inherently self-interested. Essentially, without authority, life sucks. He said that the state of nature is ruthless, vile. Basically, without government, everything sucks. So government is always preferable, even when the laws that are put in place are, morally reprehensible. We need a strong centralized sovereignty to maintain order, which he called the Leviathan. So I guess what do you guys think of that? Is an awful government better than no government at all?
He sounds really federalist. I don't know.
Yeah.
This is a thinker.
That is what philosophers do.
Well, because then it's kind of like that question of like what does an authorityless society look like, and are we capable of it?
And do we have them in the
Like,
world?
Authority?
Yeah,
Or
like
authorityless.
Authorityless.
Anarchy.
Examples. Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I mean, I half agree with like I think that there should be some structure, but I don't necessarily think that it's better than. I don't think that having a terrible one is better than none.
I agree.
Sure.
I totally agree with that. I feel like, yes, society needs structure. Ancient civilizations had structure and leaders, but I don't think it should be without the people's interest. So if the laws are made against the people that they're ruling, I feel like, I don't know, overthrow the government.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that. I kind of take this to mean say you're off in the wilderness. You're in a forest with a bunch of animals around you. would I prefer that to a government who is constantly making oppressive laws against me, but at least like I have infrastructure of like maybe a home or like maybe a vehicle? Like I don't know, because obviously I have no idea what it's like to live
I was about to say.
without any of that.
Well, it's also kind of a privileged take too.
Oh no, for sure.
Because you currently don't really have any laws being made against you.
That's also true.
So I don't know. I feel like if I was constantly living oppressed, I'd rather just be free from all of it. Even if I didn't have like a house,
Like
I'll build
anything.
one. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and I also like I did not come prepared, unfortunately, with the feminist take on this. But it's kind of like there's a lot of women who believe that kind of like the village structure of things is the best way to go, and that's just like, if you think like way back, like how everyone would raise everyone's kids and everyone would
Yeah.
kind of like really
Matriarchy.
societies- yeah, like that kind of thing of just, they didn't need somebody that was running everything. They just kind of lived in this society where
I kind of live like that.
they knew how to help, and they were like, oh yeah, I'll watch them for a second. And so then these kids, this is like prior to monogamy and marriage becoming a thing, like were everybody's kids, and there was like this responsibility that everybody had to take care of this thing that they loved, which was their society and their life and everything. And then that was taken away for,
Yeah.
monetary reasons and all that. So I think that people are, I think it would be difficult to go into that, like go back into that.
Oh, 100%.
But I don't think that is a crazy concept.
No, I mean, it happened. What is I'm blanking on the movement, especially here in America, like early America, where women, the cult of domesticity, or domesticity. It's where religion really put out there that women were supposed to be like at home, and especially it was more of to show how wealthy you are, and like they were like, if you make a lot of money, then your wife should not have to work. And that was like the whole idea of it. So every woman, or I don't want to say woman, but every man was trying to strive for that and be like, hey, like I want to be seen as powerful and wealthy, and this is what like the church and the government is telling me. And so I think that's where all of this really, really started.
Well, yeah.
In America.
And I'm also a firm believer that like oppression breeds chaos. And because I think that when people think of lack of authority, they think that everyone's just going to be running around committing crimes. But typically people are, I don't believe that people are born criminals, and I don't believe that they're born with an inclination to do crime or do harm. I think that, you see it through things like the school to prison pipeline of like.
So the idea that you're a product of your own environment, do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, I do think that you're a product of your environment.
Okay.
100%. I think that that's why, like, it's, schools that they force kids to go through metal detectors every single day, those kids are typically, they're a lot more likely to commit crime than kids that aren't. And that's not because they're just naturally like that. It's because they're in an environment where they're already being told that they're bad.
Yeah.
And so when governments oppress, they're telling groups that they are bad, and that they need police to tell them how to act right, and they need all these things. But like naturally, we don't want to do harm to each other.
Yeah.
So
I don't even really think it's in human nature to like want to harm people.
We'll get into that.
I feel like, I don't know, I'm not saying back then we were like la-di-da, hold hands, we're all happy, but I just feel like, I don't know, like a mentally stable person, it's not in their nature to harm anyone, no matter what happens. So
I don't know. I mean, I think we have that because we have been like sort of socially and morally taught that like harm is generally bad. But like, again, if we imagine a lawless, governmentless, society, well, not even society, just group of people, there's no one to tell them like, oh, don't kill this guy just for food. that's going to be, survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to imagine that world of this, like this say this island of 100 people, no laws, no government, whatever. Would I prefer to be on that island, or would I prefer to live in, like, I don't know, Nazi Germany as a Jew? Like,
Whoa.
I don't know. I mean, and again, that's
I think
part of that
definitely
stems
pick
from
that
the island.
maybe, but like my question is, like, I would think the result would be essentially the same.
No, because just because you don't have government doesn't mean you don't have morals. You can still
But you're
establish
probably
like
gonna die
How?
Well, I mean, I think
because
that
people are killing you for food.
Not
think
everyone
that-
is killing me.
I think that like indigenous culture is a great way to look at it. Of like and I guess that is they do have some forms of like government, but like I think that's a perfect example of prior to the U.S. government oppressing and taking over, they were doing just fine. And then having
I mean, they had like a system of leadership. They had a system of tradition.
yeah, and
Sure,
it
but
was
it wasn't-
more of a these are people that we respect a little bit more, and these are people that like
Yeah.
that morally guide us, but not
Or maybe that are older, have more wisdom.
and
Sorry.
can kind of like assist. I think that young people should have somebody to look up to, but
Yeah.
they don't operate in a I'm telling you this because I'm older and you have to listen to
They
me.
don't have like laws. But also there's not a lot of research done about indigenous cultures.
Yeah, so
I don't know. I mean, again, I can't possibly know because I don't know what it's like to live in either of those two worlds.
and I think that we value. I think that maybe what you're saying, maybe let me know,
Sure.
let me know, is like the lack of motivation to like grow, or like
Yeah.
like how it's kind of like that whole like, oh, if we just pay everyone really well, then no one's gonna want to like invent things, or like no one's gonna want to like
Yeah,
come up
I
with
mean,
things.
that's kind of part of it, is like without any kind of structured government or structured leadership, is societal or technological progress even possible?
Honestly, I feel like, sorry, I'm going back a little bit because I thought of something. If I'd rather be killed for food than be killed because the government told me that I shouldn't be alive.
But that's my point. You're getting killed no matter what.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather go out with my dignity than without it.
So we might as well have a state, even if the state absolutely sucks, is the worst state you can possibly imagine, that has some kind of structure so that we can maybe enjoy some privilege rather than, killing people for food.
Okay, but your example is very extreme.
Well, sure, but
like I would not
that's
I
the
would
point.
not want to be killed because of my religious and cultural background.
I just wouldn't want to be
If
killed.
someone was, well, yes, but if you're
Also-
providing me with these two extremes, I'm gonna pick the one that I would most align with.
Also, we have like nature. I think that like it wouldn't be like a cannibalistic kind of thing. Like one, I think that like good examples of this like island that you're speaking of, that how I think that this would play out in actual life is more realistic to like Lord of the Flies, like honestly, like or these all the things like that. But I'm saying in like if we had never turned to government,
Yeah,
I think that I don't know.
I'm gonna bring in like a freaking TV show, but the show Yellow Jackets, right? Like if they just grew up in the Canadian wilderness like that, I don't think they'd be killing each other. But because their plane crashed and that was all they knew and it was cold and they never learned how to like hunt, they never learned how to do anything, they had to
resort
resort to cannibalism.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry,
Yeah.
it's been out for a while.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like going back to nature, I mean, his whole position, and there's people that contradict him, his whole position is that the state of nature sucks. And like, I just feel like for something like that, if we didn't have laws in place to say like, oh, don't kill people, I think the main method of resolving any kind of conflict would like almost automatically be violence of some sort.
Not if you live in a matriarchy.
Well, in a
Just saying.
state of nature where there is no laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there would not be a matriarchy.
I don't think that's really a law. I think that's just like a social movement.
State of nature is no laws, no leadership structure, like no authority whatsoever. It's just a bunch of people living for themselves.
I just feel like I wouldn't kill people. That wouldn't be my first response. I'd try to talk it out. But no, if that's your first response, that's fine, Logan.
You would be the first to die.
Are you guys hearing this?
No, but yeah,
I feel threatened.
Obviously, like, just to clarify, I don't think that it would be better than any kind of government.
Sure.
I'm just saying better than an oppressive one.
Yeah, that was the whole point.
I don't know.
Because, yeah.
I have no idea. You guys want to move on, though?
Yes, please. Okay. You're making me mad at you.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
don't want to be.
It's supposed to be challenging. Okay. Next, John Locke. So John Locke was one of the main philosophers that the founders really, really looked up to. He said that every individual have the natural rights of life, liberty, and property, not right to pursue happiness. He said the government exists through the consent of the governed to protect those natural rights. And he said, very importantly, and once again, drawing from inspiration from the founders, citizens have a right to overthrow failed governments.
Yep.
So, I mean, I guess first, what do we think of life, liberty, and property specifically? Because obviously we share the first two, but what do we think about the difference between property and pursuit of happiness?
I feel like property is a very like economic
Yep.
value. The pursuit of happiness is completely opposite.
Yeah.
It's definitely more like moral and social. I would lean more in philosophy specifically to like the moral social thing because I'm just thinking back to history. I'm like, okay, I don't think anyone has a right to just claim land. Like I feel like that isn't just like a natural right that you have. I feel like I very much love the earth. And I feel like if we're claiming the earth and we're just, tearing it up for our own economic value, I feel like that's not a good value to base an entire society on. Mm-hmm. But the life and liberty part, I feel like, yes, everyone has a right to life and to live how they want to with some without tons of restrictions and their freedom.
He backs it up as like, in order to enjoy property, you must have the liberty. You must be free. You can't be, in a jail cell. In order to be free and to have property rights, you need to be alive. So that's why life is the most important one.
Do you think that liberty and freedom mean the same thing?
Oh my God. I have a class that we talk about this all the time.
I talked about it too in history.
I don't know. The definitions are so funky. I'll go last.
I don't.
You don't have to answer my question. Do you want to just share your thoughts? America.
I don't know.
That's how I feel about this question. It's just very American, which, yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah. I mean, I think that, like, freedom could be, I guess, taken as, like as you were saying, you have the right to live however you wish, but kind of within the confines of how we say it is. Whereas, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
there's two distinctions, two main ones of liberty. There's negative and positive liberty. So negative liberty is essentially you are free from the government interfering with you. And then positive liberty would be in saying, like, you have the freedom to, Abby, as you said, do whatever you want, basically.
Yeah.
If I'm understanding that correctly. I could be wrong.
I don't know. I just, I do like his part about you have the right to overthrow the government if it's
we'll talk about that
corrupt.
Next.
Yeah, I like that part.
Yeah, I mean, I even, like, just on the property note, like, I even just, because I don't think that, like, people should be stealing land or anything, but also people who have it stolen from, this could apply in that sense of, like, they deserve to have that and not have that infringed upon. So, like, I don't know. I think that the property is even just, like, personal belonging or, like, personal, ownership.
I want to say, I think the example he gave was, like, say you have this plot of land. The plot of land is just a plot of land. There's nothing is special about it. But if you work the land and you grow like potatoes, for example, like that's property. That's something that you have a right
Yeah.
to. You can do whatever you want with those potatoes because your work led to those potatoes.
I guess
Yeah.
I was taking it more from the standpoint of settlers coming in and taking
And slavery too.
and slavery and
Yeah.
taking
I
land
don't,
from
I don't even know
people.
if Locke was a slave owner.
I don't think so. I think he advocated against slavery, but I could be very wrong. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
I
So-
I heard a lot of philosophers when I was in my American history class. They all kind of blend together.
Yeah. But yeah, going back to citizens have a right to overthrow a failed government. I mean, what do we think about that broadly?
I feel like I agree with it because if you're living in an oppressive government or a government that isn't in your best interest or is selfish, then I feel like you don't have to be living in that government. I feel like you have the right to overthrow it because it isn't what you signed up for.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's just like in my personal view, like the people in power are no better than me. They're no more human than me. So I think that you could even apply it to like if someone's attacking you, you have every right to
Defend yourself.
defend
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question would be, does overthrowing the government necessarily have to be through violence? So what I mean by that is, like say in a democracy in our country, if you vote for someone who isn't the incumbent, is that a form of overthrowing the government?
Yeah, I think there's various forms of trying to at least. I
Yeah.
think that obviously you start off, I think that typically societies start off with trying to be peaceful about it, trying to like do the right things. And then, but I do think that it ultimately does end up
In violence.
in violence of some sort.
Yeah, I feel like when I think of overthrowing the government, I think of overthrowing the structure. So if you're
Yeah.
just voting within the structure, I don't know if that's necessarily your attempt at overthrowing the government, but maybe trying to make it work before
Yeah.
you do that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of an interesting question. It's like back in Greek times, like there were tyrants, but not all tyrants were necessarily bad. Like there were some very, very good tyrants. So I guess the question for me would be, why wouldn't it be targeted at the people? Because like say you have a structure that like is just universally sucks, but you have the greatest man or woman to ever exist who runs that structure. I think the end result would be fairly okay. So my opinion would be that it would be the specific people running that government that would be overthrown. I mean, well, let's also look at like regime change. I mean, we have a word for that. It's regime change. Like in the Middle East, we just overthrow the people running the government
Sure.
and then install worse people.
Well, I feel like even if you're overthrowing or like removing the people from the office, it doesn't necessarily change the effectiveness of the structure. Because I mean, in some cases it might,
Maybe.
but I feel like in like a broad sense, not really.
I would say in America, it definitely is because we can
Yeah.
reshape the structures.
Well, yeah, I agree
Yeah.
because that's how our structure is built. But
Yeah.
other structures, not so much.
Sure.
They're very
Yeah.
unchangeable, inchangeable.
Yeah, and it's also like I think that it's at the different phases of like the revolution, if you will. Like, there's some things that are the structures are a lot more. They're corrupt and it's much more deep rooted.
Sure.
And there's some where it's like this is a new thing that we're all dealing with, and that may be a person that's the issue. Whereas in other things that are more long lasting, then maybe that's more of a structural thing. But
Sure.
I mean, I think that it's even with like the two-party system of like that's maybe something that needs to be overthrown.
Or
You
changed,
could argue
yeah.
the two-party
Changed.
system is oppressive.
Yeah.
Oh, I
so-
feel like you don't know you're in a revolution until it's over. That's my thought.
Yeah.
Okay, France.
It's true.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, like we could be,
Yeah.
we could
Well,
be.
that
Well, you
was
don't
a-
know when you're in a war till it's over.
Kind of going off topic, but sort of along that lines. Is American culture one of revolution? Because we don't really have a set culture that's dominant or set, social structure that's dominant.
I think
All we really have is just our history that's rooted in revolution.
I don't feel like we're naturally. This is a tough one because I feel like we typically challenge authority.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is different than what I've seen today.
Mm-hmm.
But like typically throughout the past, we challenge authority.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that necessarily makes us rebellious.
Well, I think that we've been in positions where I think that the American culture of it is challenge authority until it actually is scary.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of been this, and I think that's why there's not that many people who are challenging it now,
Mm-hmm.
because they've cracked down very hard and they've been. So we're culturally, things like protesting was fine, and that was somewhat okay,
Yeah.
historically, and now it's turning into something that's not. So it's almost like the government is overthrowing our way of living.
That's interesting. In my history class right now, we're talking about Bush in like the Iraqi war or the Iraq war, and how all of the news stations, because this was after 9/11, but all of the news stations and magazines and TV shows and stuff all went along with the government instead of questioning it.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some pretty, like what I'm learning in my class is to still challenge primary sources and not take them at face value. And so there was still some like pretty, questionable evidence put out by the government. And I feel like all of the news stations were scared to challenge that because they didn't want to be seen as anti-American.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know who necessarily popularized this, but the media is kind of regarded as the fourth branch of government. It's supposed to check on, all of the other branches by saying, like, we're going to hold you, at least informationally, accountable. Like, if you lie, we are going to blow it out of proportion, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And
Freedom of press.
I think that kind of obligation from the media, especially sort of the legacy media, has been lost.
I agree.
Yeah. I think that overall it's kind of that shift from patriotism to nationalism that we've been seeing. And it's slowly been, when America was very young, they were riled up and they were like, we should all have a voice and we should all have an opinion.
Yeah.
And then we became comfortable and people are very, very comfortable. And when people are comfortable, they don't want to fight. And
I feel like
Sorry, go ahead.
the culture of like watchdog journalism has kind of gone extinct a little bit. Kind of bring that back. I feel like we should bring that back. Yeah. And also, I know I said this in the past, but oh wow, now I'm blanking on what it was. Never mind.
No,
keep going. I'll think of it.
I was just going to move us on to the next person.
Oh crap! I gotta think fast. I don't remember.
Well, I was going to say, sort of that shift from patriotism to nationalism. I think that shift actually makes people even less patriotic in the process too.
Oh yeah.
Because we see like the sort of adverse effects of that, and people like, well, dang, I kind of don't really like the country now.
That's definitely what I'm saying. I think that it's like I've always said, I think that I'm much more patriotic than people who vocalize their love so dearly for America, because it's kind of like with a friend, you wouldn't say that you love somebody and then harm them over and over again and allow them to fall apart, Actually loving them is being like, we can do a lot better than this.
Yeah.
So
do you think that like nationalism stems from having a common enemy?
We're going to get to that too.
Okay. Look at me, I'm being political philosophy. I'm being a philosopher.
Going back to the Bush example, we saw after 9/11, his approval rating was like 90%.
Mm-hmm.
So, and again, we're going to get to this. I think part of that stems from we don't even really have moral disagreements anymore. We just have people we can point to and say, like, they're wrong, I'm right, and that stems most of our political conversation.
I feel like having a common enemy creates like a false identity
Yeah.
for America, especially. And I feel like then as time goes on and, you know, that common enemy is either defeated or fades into the back, then we start getting a little bit more divisive and we're like, oh, hey, like, actually, I don't like you guys. I don't know why I said I did.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Moving on.
Go on to the next one. Jean-Jacques Rousseau. I love saying that name. He was
I don't know this one.
He's really big on the social contract.
Oh.
Yes.
Hello,
he actually
Regents.
really, last year, he really did not like technological and societal progression. He said that humans are naturally good, but are corrupted by society.
Huh.
I think that goes right back to what we were just talking about.
Yeah. In a way, it very much does. I would quibble with the idea that humans are naturally good whatsoever. I just like, and maybe this is even feeding into the point. Like I look around the world and I see like there's no way people are naturally good. But maybe that goes with the theory that they were, but
Yeah.
they're not anymore because of society.
I feel like humans are morally gray.
Yeah.
It's, well, because again, like, morality is subjective.
It's self-determined.
And so I feel like there's no, I keep saying I feel like, I gotta stop saying that. I think that there's no real way to know how humans were before society.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Or
that
were we ever without society?
the best example is
Cave people.
kids.
Yeah.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
if you think like kids, all they care about is having somebody else to play with them.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that they're thinking about. So I think that obviously people can be I don't think that people are naturally bad. I don't think people are naturally great. I think that like we're complicated, but if you look at kids, it's like that they're not tainted by like societal things at all. They're kind of how we start off, and they don't have that natural want to be mean.
That's actually really interesting because I feel like, well, they're the most innocent of all of us, and they haven't been affected by societal pressure. But then I've seen these experiments where they try to see where racism stems from. And they start off with like young kids, and there's no hint of racism in any of these children. And then as you move on and as they're more, affected by society, then you can start to see like the prejudice and the bias.
Yeah.
Probably instilled on them by their parents, I'd imagine.
Someone. So I guess my question from that is, so yeah, people maybe not naturally good, maybe not naturally bad, kind of in a gray zone. Nonetheless, does society corrupt them? And if so, is that because society is bad, or would a good society corrupt people just as much?
I feel like corruption's kind of a loaded word. I feel like definitely society affects people. It has like...
Negatively. We'll just say that. Does it affect people negatively?
Yeah.
Even if it's a good society?
Yeah. Because if you start off kind of in this neutral area, society is still going to affect you negatively, even if it's a good society.
Yeah, I think that naturally, like just going back to the whole like naturally, like what are we like? I think naturally that like we want to do good, but we're also very weak to certain like pressures and selfishness. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, you think of like babies. Babies will cry until you give them what they want.
That's only because they can't talk.
Well, yeah, but if they could talk, they'd be yelling until.
Would they?
Yeah.
Or they just say
because
please.
but because they grow up saying like they're constantly shushed all the time. We're training them to reject their natural inclination
This
to
is true.
scream out and cry when they don't get what they want.
No, yeah, I guess that kind of. I mean, yeah, no. With like if it's a perfectly good society,
A utopia.
then I don't know if people would be negative, like super negatively impacted, because I think that a lot of people get very jaded because of their experiences in society. A lot of people get very just pushed further and further down, and they want someone to blame, because I do think that the number one thing that naturally is hard for everyone is accountability and self-awareness. So I think that society preys on that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, I'm
rethinking your entire worldview.
No, not necessarily. I'm just thinking of the fact, like, well, who decides that crying and screaming out is a bad thing?
Because it's unpleasant to listen to.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I'll if I'm in like a public place and I hear a baby screaming and crying, like I'm
Yeah, but were you taught that?
at the very best perturbed. Was I taught that? I
Yeah,
don't know.
but that's the thing though. Like you
Maybe.
don't, like how can you say that that's good? Because you don't know where it comes from.
I'm also, deaf, so.
That is true. You do have that advantage.
But I don't know. I
the
mean,
babies
but going
crying.
back to the kind of the original question, like if we assume at the very least that all people are naturally neutral, say you have even like a good society, I think even if it's like very, very marginal, that's still a somewhat of a benefit on the people.
Yeah, well, I still think it's like a little bit of a corruption too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in some ways, but
'Cause
overall.
I don't think anyone as a kid can live a neutral life since they were born. It's not possible because you still have to learn things. You're still integrated into society. And so I think like I don't know. I see that as a corruption even if it's negative or positive.
Yeah, I mean I would agree like in some parts it's for the worse, in some parts for good. I would say just like on net at the end of the day, a good society on a morally neutral people will have benefits.
Yeah,
sure,
and
I agree.
And I think that like when I think good society in this case, like it's accepting like human nature entirely. So like
Okay.
like I don't know if kids would go through the like process of like don't cry, like you're and like being shamed for like having emotions and stuff.
Yeah.
Like if we were truly in a good society that actually valued human nature. So, we wouldn't grow up to be adults who find it annoying when babies cry.
Yeah,
We wouldn't.
There's a quote on this. Babies are born relentless and taught to relent.
It's kind of sad.
But yeah, like it's kind of like with kids, and you learn to like, I mean, like with students, and you learn like you're gonna get in a lot of trouble if you have a lot of energy, and so then you
repress it.
Yeah, you repress all of that, and then that leads to so many issues down the line.
So many.
Yep.
Well, and you can't. It's also hard to be a parent too. I mean, you can't be completely.
Especially if you've grown up that way.
Yeah, without fault. Like it's hard. It's so hard to like parent a child, and I wouldn't know. But I imagine it's hard to do everything right. I think you just have to do the best you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, moving on.
I
Okay.
like that one.
Moving on. This is one I'm not familiar with, although, well, I'm not familiar with the name, but like when I looked this up, I'm like, oh, okay. Jeremy Bentham, if I'm pronouncing that right. He founded utilitarianism, which is the idea that any policies, any decisions should maximize overall happiness. I mean, the actual word is
Policies,
pleasure, but
Yeah. I'm going to sound really utilitarian, but I don't
Yeah.
think that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's assumed to be bad, but like
I feel like
makes sense.
that idea is good.
Yeah. The issue you run into is if your decision makes you happy, but at the expense of, say a lot of people.
This is very Hume. God, I can't remember the philosophy, but it was like, well, if killing someone makes you happy, but then the person you kill is dead, is that a good thing?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
For the individual, maybe, but for society.
in a utopian society, I feel like it's not bad, but
Yeah.
in our current society, it might be a little different.
Guys, I'm
Thoughts?
lost. I'm lost.
I think like there's probably limits to where like utilitarianism gets kind of like certainly morally gray. Like, I think if the consequences aren't that bad, like, yeah, you can do whatever you want as long as it makes you happy.
Sure.
And we'll get into kind of our next one is just sort of on what the limits of that might be. But generally, like, you should be allowed to do whatever you want if it makes you happy.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's definitely. There obviously can be extremes, but
Yeah.
Well, yes.
And-
Like I'm speaking disregarding the extremes.
Yeah, and to take it a step further, say for those like, okay decisions, the state should be the one facilitating those decisions, or allowing those decisions.
I don't know, because then I oh, sorry, I'm getting passionate. Well, then I start thinking about, like, if you're talking about sexuality, I feel like, or gender, I feel like the government shouldn't have any say in who you love or how you want to identify.
Well, no, I'm saying if your decision to be homosexual is what makes you happy, the government should be the one facilitating that and saying, like, yes, you have
yes.
every capacity, you have every right to do that.
Sure,
because
okay.
it makes you happy.
Okay, sorry, I got a little
Yeah.
lost on the facilitation definition. My bad.
yeah, I think it's just the freedom to do things as long as they're not. I think the government should like protect those, but also step in if it's harming.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to be our next one.
Well, then how do you determine if it harms someone?
John Stuart Mill had the harm principle. Liberty should only be restricted to prevent harm to others. Whether that's physical harm, emotional harm, mental harm, who knows?
Yeah, I think that I would agree if people could agree on what harm meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to say, like, it gets messy. Because some people are like, well, you being gay or homosexual or however you want to define it.
Offends my beliefs.
Yeah, or that like mentally harms me. And to which I would say I don't agree.
Yeah. I think you'd probably just like weigh them against each other. So you have on one side, oh, you're offending my religious beliefs versus you're restricting my right to
Well, you'd be
love whoever I
oppressed.
love.
Yeah.
You're oppressing me. The harm would be much greater on here, and therefore this other person, like, okay, whatever.
Just has to
Yeah.
deal with it.
Go
And that's kind of
complain.
how, like, society is. Like,
Yeah,
you just have to
exactly.
deal with it.
Yeah.
For, like, you really just have to weigh the harms. And
Yeah. Like this reminds me, I took a class on law and morality, and it like with this kind of approach to things, it kind of like begs the question, like, why are things illegal? You know, like, why are things a crime? Why are things wrong to do? And, some people believe, like, because it harms someone else. But then we have a ton of crimes where it's like, that doesn't harm anyone else. So, like,
Suicide.
what makes somebody,
Yeah.
what makes an action actually bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, an interesting topic about that, and not to get too much into it, is abortion. Because a lot of people believe that that's harming the
Yeah.
potential baby.
We'll
but
talk about this afterhand because I have like
most people don't.
I have a very like structured system of like, I don't know even if I personally believe this, but like my arguments for and against. But I think, Maggie, to your point, like, why do we have laws? Like, say, like, oh, why can't people take as many drugs, drink as many stuff as they want? Well, because if they do so, they pose a threat to the general public.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
But where that's not necessarily true is something like suicide.
Yeah.
In that case, you are at least directly only harming yourself. So
Yeah.
to have laws against that seems strange, to put it lightly.
Yeah, like, I mean, and I think that we've seen it with polyamory is not
Yeah.
legal. You can't be married to multiple people.
It's
But
interesting.
is that harming?
I wonder if that's for like tax purposes almost.
Yeah, I want like,
Who knows?
but it's not. That's not really harming anybody, and like,
Sure.
Yeah.
obviously we had it with gay people
Yeah.
and
Well,
gay
you can
marriage.
you can still be polyamorous but not get married, and that's another thing.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
but that's also
I don't know.
not restricted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, we've got two more people. We've been going for an hour, so
Well,
Oh,
have we really?
yeah, 54 minutes. Okay, so our next one is, and this is going to tie back to something we were talking about earlier. Carl Schmitt. So this is another one I don't really know, but I know like of this idea. He came up with the friend-enemy distinction for interpreting politics. Basically, he said, and again, we alluded to this earlier, that conflict is between groups rather than individual moral disagreements. And I find that, especially in American politics, to be absolutely true.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like, the disagreements we have nothing to do with morality, either one, because we're not grounding anything in morality, or two, because have such different definitions of morality, such that we're just disagreeing with people because they believe in, or they think a certain way.
I agree.
I think that's very true.
Yep.
Like the whole tribalism.
Yes.
Like the
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
yeah, I think that because it's kind of, if you apply it to like right now, like people don't typically have a personal issue with like other people. Like if you think like, you know, with ICE, for example, like people who are anti-immigrant, that's a group of people that are anti another group of people, but then they'll be like, oh, but I love that one guy, and like we have a great relationship. So I don't think
they just want specific types of immigrants.
Yeah, or it's not even that, but like it could be the very people that they're voting against, but because they know that person, they're like, oh, but I like that person. Like I like that.
That's a good one.
Well, I've had people,
I've
had people say, they were like, well, I don't believe in gay people, but my best friend is gay.
Yeah.
Like how can, they're like, oh, but I really love my best friend. I'm not talking about him, or I'm not talking about this person. And I'm just like, well, that just is very contradictory.
And I've had it like as somebody who's very left leaning, I've spoken to people who are not, and I always get the like, you know, like I didn't really expect to agree with you on some things, or like I didn't think most people like you don't really, and it's like,
who are people like
the people
me?
that share the same beliefs as me also think that. So it's kind of like everyone generalizes way too much and doesn't actually have an issue with the individuals.
Yeah.
Well, and like
I mean, some people do.
A really extreme example of this is Nick Fuentes.
Yes.
He's openly racist. Like straight up just does not like people.
Clavicular now.
Yes, just does not like people who aren't white. But he routinely says he has friends who aren't white. Like like your example, like, oh, I hate gay people, but my best friend is gay. Like,
okay,
how does that make sense?
Not me though.
Well, yes,
just gotta make that clear.
As an example, though.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, you can have the closest people to you be people that you hate as a group, but you still love that person.
Yeah. So I definitely think that conflict is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's between groups.
Between groups every time.
And it's reinforced
every time.
Everything. All right, saving the best for last.
Oh, no.
Karl Marx. So he thought that economic structures drive political systems. Everything that we have politically ultimately stems from our economic structures. He said that capitalism creates class conflict between I'm going to butcher this, bourgeoisie and the proletariat. So the people who own the businesses, own the factories, and the people who work in the businesses, work in the factories. And his essentially, if you want to call it the motto of Marxism, of communism, is from each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. So in a vacuum, we'll say, just broadly, what do we think of that statement?
I mean, I do firmly believe that class leads to everything else.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I will clarify. I think that everybody goes through a phase where they think maybe they're communist, and that it doesn't play. Disclaimer: it doesn't play out very well.
No, yeah.
But
in
theory,
yeah.
Like, just one thing. Like, this is regarded as the utopian vision. And like most people who actually study this don't disagree with that. We just don't know how to actually get there.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily advocate for an elimination of a capitalist society, because everything right now has been structured around it, and I think it would be so messy to try to
for sure,
pull us out of it, as we've seen before.
Yeah, I mean, we've had conversations on whether the U.S. could ever be socialist.
Yeah, but like I know Ted said this on one of our episodes, but he said like the whole left and right thing didn't exist before. Before it was the rich versus the poor.
Up, down. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so honestly, I think then that the left and right have stemmed from rich versus poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
so
then even within left, right, it's up, down.
Yeah.
You have your like on the Democratic side, you have your sort of
Establishment.
Establishment.
Yeah.
Thank you. Establishment Democrats versus like your AOCs, your Mamdanis, your this, that, and the other, your Sanders. Like he thought that like people find value in the work they're doing, like internally, but that value is being erased when they are forced to work for pay.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so his solution to that is the workers should own the means of production, not the people capitalizing off their work.
My thought is that there is no real effective way to apply it in today's society. The value itself is not an inherently bad or negative one,
You know,
but to be able to apply it to today's society, it would create so much conflict.
maybe, but at the same time, I think we can get close.
We can try,
So
yeah, but not,
let's say we want to reach.
Completely.
Yeah, let's say we want to reach a world in which people only work because like they want to. They want to be
Sure.
librarians because they like helping students.
I mean, we see that a lot kind of in European.
Exactly.
Nations.
And how
Yeah.
we get there is we tax the hell out of people who are rich and not so much the lower and middle class.
Sure.
So we have something like a wealth tax, something like a corporate tax, progressive tax system, but like way much more exponential essentially.
Yeah.
That also may create divisiveness too. There's
Yeah.
there's no like completely positive outcome
No.
from
No,
changing things.
I think that socialism is definitely, I do believe it's achievable.
Sure.
In the, or at least some, like, we can definitely do a lot better.
Yeah.
But I think that if we look at like American structures of capitalism, like I meet a lot of people who will be like, I am straight up a communist. But I'm like, no, and then they explain it and I'm like, you just like when capitalism is good. Like
Yeah.
you just like when capitalism is doing the best for like everything. So I feel like that's the most realistic version is just
Sure.
like when everyone's feeling chill. Because the truth is that all of our rage and anger stems when we don't have money. Like
That is true.
That's the truth. And like
Yeah.
people are they're looking to blame other people who don't have money and
Yeah.
not the ones who are taking it, and that's causing us to like, I mean, I'm glad that some people are finally realizing that it's been a class issue.
Yeah.
But like, it's just a little too late. Like, guys,
No, that's
Well-
what I'm saying. I'm like, I think it's too late to be able to.
Well, I don't know. I mean, let's maybe analyze this less from a political and social level, more from a technological level. Let's say somewhere in the near future, AI technology or whatever the next generation's invention is just doing everything for us from a work standpoint.
Okay.
At that point, like there functionally is no capitalism for at least humans. So it seems like the only alternative would be to like, okay, here's your subsidy, go do whatever you want.
well, I do agree with the idea that people feel a personal, they feel personally fulfilled
Yeah. Sure.
when they work, like sometimes. And that's what I mean by like, I think that people like when capitalism is good for them and like when
Right.
capitalism is working and it's kept in check, because people work, but they can feel the benefit of
Yeah.
it. Right now, I feel like we're in a situation where people are working and they can't feel happy about it because it's not giving them sufficient income or anything. So we don't even have to do anything that drastic, really.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just getting on top of the fact that, because I understand the whole like competitive market, and if we don't have a competitive market, then we won't be, like, innovation will go down and all that kind of stuff.
That's an important distinction. We don't necessarily need a free market. We need a competitive market.
Yeah, so I agree with some, like a tiny little bit of competitive market, but I don't necessarily think that like extreme capitalism is the way to
Agreed.
achieve that.
I like apply this to healthcare. So like, sorry, I'm silencing you. My like
Typical man.
Big.
Just kidding.
My like big idea is like to solve U.S. healthcare is okay. Everything we have is just like private option. Instead of only having a private or only having a public, why don't we just have both? And like the best system will win out and ultimately make the inferior system better in the process.
Yeah, I think healthcare is like it's kind of a well. I mean, I'm a firm believer in just universal public healthcare,
Sure.
but like
Me too.
I think that there's still a competitiveness if you're like. If you're like, but I want a little bit better of healthcare,
Sure.
then like there's still, because the thing is that we're speaking about the end of the competitive line. They're just seeing who can hit $1 trillion next. Like they're not like they're incredibly greedy when it comes to money.
Well, and especially
So-
when like all these companies are owned by like five guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Burgers and fries.
And they're working. They're the most competitive, right? Like they're the best at doing what they're supposed to do. If we like look at it structurally, and they're not working for money anymore at this point. Like,
Yeah.
we're talking about the people that are working 3 jobs and still don't have enough for rent and still don't have enough for that. It's not that they're not working hard. Like they're in the system, and if we were to just give them, if we were to raise their wages, if we were to give them free childcare or longer maternity leave or whatever it may be,
Right.
like they're not going to stop working hard. They're just going to stop drowning.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, no, I know what you mean. I feel like because everything costs so much today, it is so hard to find a job that you are very passionate in and that also makes you enough money to live comfortably. Like even me myself, like I'm thinking I want to be a lawyer, right? And I know lawyers make a lot of money, but I'm now rethinking what practice I want to go into because I'm like, well, I want to be a lawyer because I'm passionate about it. But the kind of law that I originally want to go into, I don't think it's going to make me enough money to live comfortably. And I just feel like it changes people's passion.
yeah.
And it limits them. I really like how European countries have all this time off and how their social expectation is to live how you want to live. And then, but you should also work too.
Yeah, the
you know?
mindset shouldn't be work first, then life. It
Yeah,
should be
it
the
should
other
be
way
life
around.
first. Pursuit of happiness.
Because those
There you
people
go.
are significantly happier.
They are.
They become
and
better,
they're
more
better
efficient
workers.
workers.
Yeah.
And they're healthier too.
They're a lot more. Yeah, when you give your workers free healthcare or just any form of healthcare, like that means that they can show up. Like just in like to speak to like defend the companies and everything. It's like this is
Yeah.
better for you anyway. Like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And another thing that I find interesting is that people are like, oh, well, women in the workforce has decreased their want to have children, and that's why our population is declining. I'm like, no, actually, your treatment of pregnant women
Yeah.
and mothers in the workforce is horrible.
And the
it's
price
making
of
people not want to
childcare.
have children. Yes, that
It-
too.
It's all just economics. Like people, because like as you're saying, like everything's more expensive and wages haven't kept up with that. People are waiting longer to have kids and are having fewer kids
Yeah.
because they would rather go to college. They'd rather go to grad school. They'd rather spend a few years on the career so they have a more stable income before having kids. And what that results in is just fewer kids.
It does.
And so it's not like all of our issues would just be solved if we like paid people the right way. Like, and we didn't have these, especially now, like for us, the job market is horrible right now.
yeah,
Like
I'm
you have to
scared.
apply to like
I'm scared.
100 and the fact that people with bachelor's degrees are going into this world but no one's hiring them, like, and there's nothing there, and we're being labeled as kind of like this lazy group of people where it's like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to accept a minimum wage job where I don't get any kind of benefits or anything, and I still don't, like, obviously I'm not going to work hard at that.
Like we're
because-
set up for failure, pretty much.
Yeah, because what's the point? So it's like, it's not. There's a lot of people who defend. I'm gonna quote Hassan. I'm so sorry.
No, you can.
But like, but there's a lot of people who defend the billionaires and like they're but like I won't even quote someone really, but like that whole that they defend this thing because they think that it's achievable and everything, and it's just simply not. Like we have such a false idea of what is actually achievable. And
yeah, well, I feel like a lot of the older generations don't really understand the predicament we're in. I mean, honestly, I didn't feel the complete weight of it until like this year, because I was like, oh crap, like I gotta find a place to live. And then I was thinking, when I'm completely paying for this on my own, I don't know how I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, and then like just with, I think that there was once a time where working harder actually made sense. Like, and there's that whole mentality of like pick yourself up by your bootstraps or whatever. It's like people are trying. Like
you're taking away the bootstraps.
Well, and
exactly,
people start at unequal places too.
Yeah, and so there's just like it's insane that we have this mentality of like, as long as you just work hard, because that's kind of insulting to yourself. Like to a lot of people who have that take they're insulting themselves, where I'm like, you're working all the time. Like you deserve to be able to, enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Well, and how can you pick yourself up from your bootstraps if you can't even afford the bootstraps?
No, yeah. But that's just I do believe that the middle class is like,
it's non-existent,
fizzling out.
There was a study done that
just like
they surveyed a bunch of people on what they think the wealth distribution is, what they think the right wealth distribution should be, and then they overlaid it with what the wealth distribution actually is. So what they found out was people think that the wealth distribution as it is today is actually a lot better than what it actually is, but still a lot worse than what they think it should be. It's such that like they think it's like this, they think it should be this, it's actually like this. So
no, it's people just don't have. I mean, I think that the average cost of rent per month for a single person is just ridiculous. Surpassed $3,000.
Well, I told my parents, like,
for the country. Like that's insane.
Well, I was telling my parents, I was like, yeah, like these are the apartments that are on the higher end, but I don't necessarily love them. Like I'm like, I want to be in a safe area as a woman, and the places that I looked at that were super expensive still weren't safe. And I was telling my parents like the rent, and they were like, this is ridiculous. Like I did not have to pay that much when I was living in my first apartment. Yeah,
because even in like a kind of a simpler scale, when you think of like ticket prices, for like concerts and stuff, like they realized that there will be people who do pay the $15,000 to be on the floor. And so then they were like, perfect. That's what it's going to be now. And so that's what's happening, is that there's always going to be people who can afford that higher option and who can keep up with like the rising costs, but that percentage of people who can't is growing.
Well, and then the rich people get to experience all these things that the poorer people don't, and that creates so much divisiveness socially.
And that goes back to the competitive market point. Like we don't have competitive markets. No,
we don't, because especially with how many advancements we're making, like truly, and people are realizing that despite working hard, they're not like actually getting any kind of benefits, which leads to like the crab pot theory of like the people at the bottom are getting to kind of like everyone wants to get out of it, and everyone has been fed this idea of like American dream and all that they can get out of it, and so they're tearing down everyone around them because they think that it's a possibility, but like it's no one's fault for. I mean, it's none of the people who are struggling from it's fault for why that is, but
it's the system.
Yeah, and we have to be serious about like it's not your neighbor. It's not the person living in government housing. It's not the person with food stamps. Like
it's not the immigrants.
It's not the immigrants at all. Like these people are not. These are your friends. You're in the same boat. Like I've always said, like people will hate on like the unhoused population, but you are much closer to, you share a lot more common ground with that person than any of the billionaires that you defend.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
True.
Very well said.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end off. We've been
think
here
so,
for
too.
over an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's quite the gauntlet.
I know, right?
we're just
Yes.
thinkers.
That was fun. I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily like sit down and think about philosophy because I don't have time.
I listened to it.
Yeah.
So-
But it's
It's
fun
like
to try to form my own opinion actively while I'm here talking about it with you guys.
No, yeah, because I don't think that I've kind of like said it as a joking thing, like that philosophers are a little overrated, but truly it's because I think that everyone can digest it, can digest what they're saying.
Everyone can be a philosopher.
It's meant to
Yes.
be relatively easy to understand because
Yeah.
all you're doing is trying to make sense of the world. And
Yeah.
if making sense of the world is confusing, well, that's
Well,
not, that's
then
not
the
good.
world's confusing.
Well, yeah, that's true. But yeah, are we good to wrap up or
I think
any
so.
lasting thoughts?
Yeah. Just want to say thank you to Maggie for being on again and
Yeah.
for
Yes, thank you.
In the
taking
future.
part in our little club here.
Yes,
Our
and I
club.
just want to make it clear for the viewers that I am not saying communism is awesome.
Yes.
It could be,
It could be,
but we'll never know.
but I am not defending places that may be communist,
Exactly.
because I know people like to get real mad about that one. So,
Yeah.
but I do love socialism.
Yeah, this is more of just like what are our personal opinions on certain topics. We're not necessarily defending or
But when I'm running for office, you best believe
I best believe what.
that these personal opinions are going to stay the same way.
Okay.
That's just at the end of the day. So Ron is our only hope. He's our only hope.
Why isn't he a U.S. natural?
I know. I'm so upset about that. He paid them $30. He paid just citizens $30 to shovel.
Oh,
Did you guys see that?
no.
That's
During the
awesome.
storm, he said that anyone who wants to go out and shovel the streets, $30 an hour.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Damn.
Well,
that's
first
more
he
than I
started-
made working in a pool for
he-
7 hours a day.
I know.
He started at 19, and then by the end of the day, he was like, you know what? That's not high enough. And he raised it to 30 an hour. That's wonderful. Like,
Oh my
and-
God, I love
And the
that.
thing is,
I'm going to move into New York.
To York.
Yeah,
to
I know. York.
and the thing is
Me
that
too.
everyone went out. Everyone went out.
Actually,
and-
we're moving
and
to
shoveled.
Boston.
I mean, we'll
Period.
see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Shipping off to Boston.
Depends on my law school.
All right. Well,
Thank
that's
you
been
very
us
much.
for
Yes.
episode 5 on political philosophy. I've been Logan,
I've been Abby.
I've been Maggie.
and we will see you guys after spring break. So
Have fun.
Well.
Stay
Yeah.
safe.
don't do anything stupid.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Although that might be stupid.
Oh,
Hey.
oh my God.
Goodbye. Bye,
Depends.
guys.
Bye.